Truly divine, we be with it just less. Without you, we a fraction of what we could be perfected. Give a rose to a rose and show some appreciation. A little time, but welcome 2.0 to Champagne and Conversations. How are you?
I'm doing well, and yourself?
I'm doing well. Thank you, sir, for joining us on Champagne and Conversations. So good to see you.
Likewise, my pleasure, my pleasure.
Yes. And thank you for roses. Ladies and gentlemen, we are with 2. Now, do we say 2.0 or 2.0? Let me make sure I get that correct.
2.0,
Okay.
2.0.
Okay. So 2.0, and the song that we came into this evening is titled Roses, and
Mm-hmm.
that is one of his new singles. So welcome, Champagne and Conversations.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Roses to all the wonderful women out there.
Yes, absolutely. I must ask you, as it relates to your influence, what led you to the name 2.0, 2.0?
So, you want the long version or the short version?
We're here for it. Look, we're
Okay.
here for it.
All right. So, when I was in college, I had a quite a reputation. It's like before I got serious about my faith, I was known as hustle man. I sold a little bit of a lot of bit of everything from
Okay.
headphones and speakers and rims to candy and books and chords, and I found a way to get it and move it.
Okay.
And so when I got serious about my faith, I cut all of those ties, all of those ways, and probably about a couple months to a year later, I was praying, and and it just hit me like a ton of bricks. It was like, man, you really think your life just started when you made a decision to get serious about your faith? And God was like, man, I've been with you the whole time. Like before you was born, like I made you that way. Like you survived some of the things that should have killed you, and you were out, where you was at doing what you was doing. And I was with you then. You didn't know, you weren't as aware, but I was with you then. It's not an accident. I made you who you are and how you are on purpose. And at that moment, it was like, oh, okay, so it wasn't that me being serious about my faith changed who I was, it redirected who I was.
Right.
And
Okay.
so in that moment, I was like, okay, well, so Hustle Man 2.0. And I was really feeling that in a while, but um, I had a really strong reputation. I went to Morehouse and the whole AUC, a lot of people knew me. Um, they didn't let that Hustle Man go. So for me, it was like, okay, I'll just
Live.
stick to 2.0. You know what I mean? Like I'm
Can
a
I
better
live?
version. Yeah, they didn't want to let that Hustle Man go because
Mm-hmm.
is a very famous guy. Um, but I take it as I'm an upgraded version of myself. And I only stop at 2.0 because I just need to be better than who I was yesterday. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying?
Yes.
So
I like it.
that's where 2.0 came from.
I like it. And the reason why I asked you about 2.0 is because we always talk about the next level, as you stated, going up, the amplified version, next level. And then, of course, you have an interesting concept coming out of 2020 where 2.0 is some of your reference in your music. So I wanted to link that together and have you explain that part of it too, because 2020 was a great year.
Hmm. It's all about perspective. So I try to be clever. You know what I'm saying? Another thing about 2.0 is that I always have double meanings. It's not always intentional though. That's the thing that caught my
Ah,
attention.
okay. All
It's
right.
not always intentional, and then when I look back, it's like, oh, it can mean that too. So, which is the double meaning for 2.0. But with 22.0, it's a play on, if they say you have perfect vision, it's 2020. And
Yeah.
so for me, it was 22.0, and I looked out at the pandemic, depending on who you're talking to.
Which is why I say it was a year. I
Right,
shouldn't probably say great year, but it was a year for us to pivot. Yes.
for sure. And depending on your perspective,
Yeah.
how you look at it and how you saw it. They say hindsight is 2020. And I did that project. I finished that project at the end of the year, so I had a good amount of time to look back. Um,
Hmm.
Initially, I was devastated. I had some of the biggest performances lined up that I ever had in my career so far. Spanning starting from 2016 up to 2020, I've been on, South by Southwest. I was booked for. We're starting to get some bigger paid shows, and it all came to a halt because of coronavirus or COVID. And like I said, at first it was devastating, but the opportunity to sit down, regroup, to educate
Yeah.
myself more about the
Yeah.
business, to become more of an entrepreneur,
Right.
um to spend more time with my family, to it just it was an incubation period, let me
Yeah.
tell it. You know what I mean? And I came out of it better and stronger and wiser. But again, it was I had to gain the perspective to use that time wisely. So if I had taken the initial, you know, perspective of this is uncomfortable, this is inconvenient, then I would not have embraced the opportunity that it also provided to
Right.
grow.
Right. Absolutely. And I think that's important because that is what the takeaway has been for so many that have come from in that time we've had to kind of again pivot, reevaluate, recreate, and kind of do some deep soul searching. So I think that that's important. Now I'm going to take it back just a second and ask you, who were your musical influences growing up?
Oh yeah. Okay. So the obvious, me being from Atlanta,
Okay.
um, the obvious is your Outcasts, your T.I.s, your Goody Mob. You can throw them in there. A little bit of Ludacris, those guys. But then beyond that, taking it back to the '90s, shoot, you got anything that came out the South, just the South. I'm a product of the South, Atlanta first, but the South, and from I hate to say it because of the irony of what I do now, but like your 3 6 Mafia, or your the stuff that was going on in Florida, or stuff that was going on in Alabama, the Dirty Boys, like, and then a little bit of the East Coast. I like your Method Man, your Red Man. Wasn't big on the Wu-Tang, but and then I like Dr. Dre a little bit. That was actually my first when I was a little kid. I think he had came out with like the Chronic. I ain't had no business listening to it, but I'll never forget it.
Uh-huh.
I will never forget it.
Right.
That, and then I had some R&B vibes in there too. I remember again also when I was a little kid. I don't know why I had this CD. I had Brown Sugar. Talking about
Yeah.
third, fourth, fifth grade, something like that.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
I listened to it front to back. I'll never forget. I was riding a train to go see my grandparents, me and my little sister, and I would listen. I was listening to it um, from Atlanta down there. I ain't have nothing else to listen to, so I had to listen to it. But after a while, I was like, I like this. I really like this. Um, yeah. So that, and then as I got a little bit older, I got into more musical stuff like classical music, like your Strauss, your Bach,
Mm-hmm.
um, um, a little bit of jazz, but like I don't have a favorite jazz artist per se, but I just like the vibe and the musicality of it. Your Stevie
Okay.
Wonders. Um, you can't love music and not say Michael Jackson. You just
Oh, absolutely not.
right,
Have to.
right.
Have to. Yes.
Yeah, so a lot of the great songwriters and people, producers or whatnot. I'm a big Pharrell fan.
Mhm.
I mean, at first I always thought his stuff was quirky, but that's what I like the most about it. I was like, it's imperfect. Every song that he has, just about is imperfect one way or the other. But I think though, after a while, I was like, I think he's doing this on purpose. And I was like, I like it. I like the fact that it doesn't have to be perfect in order to be catchy, in order to be,
Mm.
because his blends were so different and the sounds that he would choose would be so unique. And that influenced me greatly as a producer, to be honest with you, because it was like, I want to pick stuff and try to make a beat or make music doing something that's unconventional.
I like
And
that. I like it.
yep, and he was one of the first ones to make it okay, to make it feel like it's okay to not be to not be the norm.
Yeah, I like the fact that you went into detail in terms of why these became your influences. And the reason why I ask is because we weigh so heavy today on influencers,
Yeah.
people that obviously contribute to the social media world, right? They have
Hmm.
something that encourages you to watch them again or take a product or, like we were talking about earlier before we get on, try a water or whatever it is.
Hmm.
The influence from that is what is motivating. So the fact that you gave the example as to who Pharrell was in terms of your contribution to production, and some of the others, of course, the greats, the Michael Jacksons and Stevie Wonders, just in terms of pulling out the specifics on what I like about these people that added to my life. I think that
Hmm.
that is so, so, so very important because we have so many, if you will, influencers
Right.
in the social media space. And, we often look at folks for what they're offering, right? But
Hmm.
wanting to make certain that these people are authentic and
Yeah.
presenting things that are real, that contribute to the greater in you, the 2.0 in you, right? and
Absolutely.
and being able to add a value, to being able to create something that you are able to grow. And we had this conversation earlier today, and that was something that has been heavy kind of on me, and just in terms of influence and
Hmm.
what that speaks to in terms of people. And I mean, because obviously you could just be saying anything just to a neighbor in on the street, and a kid ride by and hear one thing, and they were influenced to take their training wheels off their bike just from
Right.
something
Yeah.
that they
Yeah.
heard you say. You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
I think that we do have to be conscious, and obviously if we're being authentic, we're lending to that every day despite what people think. Like, it doesn't have to be extra, but also in that you have to have the gas to be
Yeah.
able to be an influencer, right?
Hmm.
You have to be able to have that part of it where you're able to be fuel to fuel other people. And when your fuel runs out, it's very difficult to say, I can fuel other people. How do you do it? You
Yeah.
can't run the car without gas
Right.
or without maintenance or without a car wash if it's extremely dirty. So, how do you expect for a person to continue to influence if not?
Hmm.
So, it's great that these folks were preserved in a sense or maintained in a sense, or that to be able to over generations lend to you guys, as you say, in the production world and the artistry world, to give you that. And then you were so specific on the things, like you say, that Pharrell has contributed to your life. So hats off to Pharrell. He is our VA brother. But I did want to talk to you about it because, yeah, influencing is such a big thing. Influencers is such a big conversation lately. So just wanted to touch base with you on that. Thank you for that.
Appreciate
Pardon.
it. And you know what's crazy? As you were saying that, I thought about it. I didn't. Most of my influence is not of the gospel. They're not gospel artists. Like,
I
it's one
That's
or
the
two.
next thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's one or two. Canton Jones. I can't forget Canton Jones. Canton Jones and personal big homie of mine. But like, his music was the first one that let me know that it was something beyond the traditional church Sunday morning style of gospel music.
Okay. Okay.
And then a little bit of Lecrae. Lecrae, I'm not necessarily the biggest fan, but I am a huge supporter. Like, I at one point in time, I would get their albums just because they dropped it, just because I support what they mean to the world, to the community, and to the
Yeah.
faith-based community. Because they are literally standing on the front line, and if they're the ones that's getting everyone to notice and sharing the message, um, then shoot, let's support that. You know what I mean? I would
Did
want them
Lecrae
to
do
support that.
Concrete Roses?
You said what?
Did Lecrae do Concrete Roses?
Uh, I know he has a song that says "Concrete," the rose that came from concrete. I
Okay.
think something
Yeah,
like
I
that.
think that. Yeah. Okay. I like that. Yeah. Okay.
Hmm. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So I mean, they did, but more so. I'll be honest with you. More of my influence from an artistic standpoint came from the artists that are non-gospel, like specifically definitely an outcast. A lot of people, that's the first thing they compare me to. They're like, "Well, you sound like Andre 3000. You sound like Big Boy." And it's like, man, when you
Uh-huh.
from Atlanta, like most people from Atlanta sound like other people from Atlanta.
Right.
Um, but I will say that I learned artistically, and even in speaking, there's some things that I picked up from them as far as how to express um things that we saw in that same environment. I'm from East Point, went to school in East Point and all that kind of stuff. So it's like that shapes your reality, that molds your perspective and how you choose to see things. And so somebody else who came from the same place, who came from a similar dynamic, expresses themselves the same way. It's like, of course, we like, I know where Headland and Delo is. I used to go there when I used to go to a pawn shop over there frequently. So it's like, for most people, that's a favorite, that's just another lyric in an Outcast song. For me, it's like, no, I got a real reference point. I went there for a different reason, but I know where that's at. My One of my closest friends stay off of the low drive down the hill from, so yeah.
Yes.
Just want to throw that out there. I don't want to shortchange, or because there are some influences as well.
But
But
it's so great that you utilize that energy to be able to speak it in a sense where you're using your gospel platform. And so what that means is that your purpose is being served. So you extracted what motivated you, and then you were able to craft it to be able to deliver it as a, maybe I'm getting a little deep here, but as a steward, if you will.
I take it.
Yes, as a steward, to the community, whether it's the A, or whether it's your age group, or whether it's just a culture that only potentially might have listened to what you like to add into it as trap, because that was part of the influence,
Hmm.
in blending your sounds to create what you're doing. So you were just a vessel, right? And
Yeah,
being able to speak it where others that may not have traditionally picked it up can now pick it up, because they're
for sure.
picking it up through hip hop. They're picking it up specifically through trap. They're picking it up through the vibe that they get from the A, because like you say, you guys have this distinct sound.
Hmm.
And then you have a look that is similar to those that we understand or we know. So it allowed for you to be able to get the message out. So greatness to you. Like, kudos to you for being able to translate that, because that's what happened. You were spoken to, you picked it up, and you said, let's rock, right? Let's
Yes,
do it this way, because it is trap
absolutely.
music. But who would actually think that until they heard it, right? If you say
Hmm.
gospel music, there, because Ty Tribbett does a great, Ty Tribbett does a great um up tempo, kind of get you in the groove, vibe, right? When he gets
Hmm.
out on stage, he has everybody jumping and flipping and everything. So, for you to have it where it is the music that the young people would listen to, it allows for you to open that up for others to be, to receive it and understand the message that's coming from that. And I would say that if you had influence and influencers and mentors
Hmm.
when you were growing up, now you're becoming that for others that are in this space coming up as well. So again, you created that correlation, that link that allows for people to follow. And I think that's a great plan. You're creating that blueprint, and I think that's great. So
I
congratulations to
appreciate
you.
that.
Cheers to you on
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So encouraging. I like this.
that.
The
Yes.
encouragement is
And
real.
but when you were giving me the background, guys, if you're just joining us, 2.0, which I love, I think that we too speak life over who we are, our brand, our name, our life. So adding 2.0 to that was something that I was like excited about, because it's next level. So we're going
Mhm.
up 2.0, and obviously you have given yourself that. So you took maybe something that wasn't so positive, and you made it positive with the
Mhm.
2.0, because your story at the beginning was, you were kind of trying to figure it out. And then
Mhm.
some people didn't want to let you graduate from that, but you did.
Right.
And you
Right.
still kept it, but you grew from it. So, again, I think that all of that messaging is what kind of led me to wanting to have this conversation with you, because the timeline in which you were breaking everything down, I was like, oh, I wonder, does he see this? Because
Mm.
it's definitely a great, like I say, blueprint. Now, you spoke of Canton Jones. Shout out to Canton Jones,
Mhm.
and his gospel approach and mentorship as well. Now, you had an opportunity to be with him on our reality show. So let's talk about the reality show Preachers of Atlanta.
Yeah. That was
Yeah.
during the time I was a part of a mentor group called KJU,
Okay.
and yeah, he when he got picked for this reality show called Preachers of Atlanta.
Hmm.
And basically, he took us, they just show behind the scenes of different prominent preachers or well known pastors or whatnot. And he wanted to showcase us a bit. Also, a part of that group was 1K Few. Another guy, Tonio, who's a part of 1K Famo. They're doing pretty well. They're signed to Lecrae's label now.
Okay.
Several other guys and friends of mine. And it was six. It was about 5, 6 of us, and just showcasing, his interactions with us, and just kind of, you know, different things that we were dealing with because it was connected, or we were connected to him. Um, because we were a real part of his life. Like he really did, try to share some things with us about the music business, about the gospel, and as well as ministry when it comes to music. So always be grateful for that opportunity, and for just him, if nothing else, just showing us what it looks like to do this as a living for a living. And yeah,
Now,
that
did
was
you want to
quite an
do that
experience.
as you were growing up? Was that something on your, in essence, bucket list?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
I'm I'm
All right.
I'm 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 of Nigerian descent.
Okay.
So Nigerians are tough. Everything's education. You can be a
Okay.
doctor, you can be a lawyer, you can be a CEO, or something in the finance department. You can be all of these professional, educational, and entertainer.
Yeah,
Nah,
never.
don't do that. You that's a waste of education and opportunity, and upbringing.
Oh, and
Don't
talent and
disgrace your
God
family.
blessings, right?
Yeah, so my plans were always, funny enough, to be a tennis player, professional tennis player.
Okay.
And I did achieve it to a certain degree. But when I got serious about my faith, that came with some other gifts, we'll say. It opened up some other gifts. And I don't know, it just at first I thought it was just by preference, that I was searching for music with a gospel message, but with an Atlanta flair. That had the elements that made Atlanta. I'm talking about old Atlanta. I ain't talking about this new stuff. You know what I'm saying? It's cool. I get it. It's but the stuff that made you feel, the stuff that made you think, the stuff
Think,
that made
yes.
you dance, the stuff that Atlanta's known for, that's got everybody and their mama wanting to move here. The culture, the you know, um, and I couldn't find it. And so I was like,
Dig.
well, yeah, I was like, well, at first I just wanted to be a producer. Funny
Okay.
enough, I just
Okay.
wanted to be a producer. I was like, I'm gonna do tennis. I'm a tennis player. I've been doing this my whole life. I'm gonna do that. But man, I'm gonna make beats and produce for um this artist. Like I don't know who it is. I bet it's gonna be like a gospel artist that's like dope. We gonna change the world together. I'm gonna make them all the beats. And then I met a guy, call my brother now, Torian. We actually were in a rap group called TNT.
Okay.
Um, and I meet him, and he's a rapper. He was a gospel rapper, been one his whole life. And he was like, "Man, you rap?" I said, "No, I write a little bit and I produce." And he said he asked me to read something that I wrote, and it was a song that I was going to give this artist that I wanted to find and discover, because I'd never thought about being an artist. And after he read it, he was like, "This is pretty good." He was like, "Maybe you're the artist that you were looking for."
Wow.
Yeah, I just exactly how I responded. And I was like, "You tripping? Nah, don't gas me. Like this, if you don't like it, just say you don't like it. Don't hype me up." But the more he said it, it literally like in my soul or in my spirit, like it hit me like a ton of bricks, like maybe you are and you don't know it. And so
Right.
I
Yeah.
took steps towards it, and here we are
Here you
today.
are. Here you are. Absolutely. Yes. Well, blessings to you for that. Listening to the voices that were guiding you that direction. And I'm sure that you had some, road to travel. I mean,
Mm.
for those that are listening, it sounded like you definitely had direction, but I'm sure you had a few hiccups along the way, but you
Oh yeah,
got to where you are today, and you're able to produce as well as be an artist and speak about it. And you have some amazing new singles that are out. I want you to share your social media and also shout out to Upscale PR
absolutely. Big
for
shout out to Upscale and Leslie Logan, the
yes.
greatest PR in the world.
Thank you so much. And then please share your social media so everyone can find you. And then we will go into your new music.
Okay. So on all platforms, it's the number two, the word point, the number zero, and then TNT. So it's two, the number two, POINT, the number zero, TNT. That's
Cool.
2.0 from TNT. Yeah.
TNT. And you mentioned that you are of Nigerian descent. What's your Nigerian name?
I am Bola.
Okay.
Bola, yep. My family's Yoruba. That's the tribe that we're from.
Okay. All right.
Mhm.
Some culture for you all. Add that in there.
Absolutely.
So now let's talk about your new music. You have several singles coming out, and
Yeah.
I just want to talk about the ones that you have coming out and the inspiration behind them.
Okay. So I'll start with my last single, which features Project Pet, my
Cool.
story.
Cheers to that.
Um, yep, yep. And that one was just I just wanted to. So one of the, if I can backtrack a little bit, one of the things that I got from Outkast and that I hold on to dearly is I always wanted to be authentic in my music. I always wanted
So,
to, regardless of how everyone else may feel about it, what's deemed as cool and normal, forget it, forget that, forget all that. I'm gonna tell you how I see. I'm gonna paint the picture through the lens of my eyes. If you get it, you get it. If you don't, it's not my problem. I painted
right.
the picture through my lens. So um I said if I was gonna do a song with Project Pat, who's super serious about his faith, shout out to Project Pat too. Um,
Yes.
um, I said how can we cross lines? Like what do we have in common that'll make it believable and not seem forced? I said we each have a story. We each have a story to tell about how we got to the place of I'm serious about my faith now, what I'm doing now. And so that's what I tried to tell, and that's what he did as well. So we shared our story, well, my story. And
Okay.
then after that, I just released a
Well, now
um
your Project Pet song, that's not out yet, right? That's coming
it
soon.
no, it is.
Okay.
That
All
was the
right.
last
Okay.
one I wanted to kind of give a because they all kind of link up. They kind of all are going to link up to tell a story.
Okay.
And that was the end of July. That was the last single, and then I just released a single called Steve 2.0 this
Okay.
past Friday. And that kind of is a reflection moment about the change that I have made, and just looking back at like, man, I've come a long way. So first I tell my story, which is the origin, but then second I kind of acknowledge the change of what got me from where I was to where I am.
Nice.
Um, Yep.
Okay.
And if you, I don't know if you all are familiar with the old school show Family Matters,
Of
and
course.
Steve Urkel, right? But see, the thing about Steve Urkel was a lot of people thought Stefan Urkel was the cooler version, was the better version, and that was based off of his appearance. That was based off of his smoothness, how normal he was, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I looked at it, I was like, man, I've been cool, I've been popular, I've been all these things. Um, but that wasn't the best version of me.
Okay.
I felt like when I got serious about my faith, God stripped me. I'm talking about I was a stereotypical Atlantan. I had dreads, gold teeth, all that stuff. old school cars, all that stuff. And when I got serious about my faith, God was like, shed it all. Because that's like makeup on a beautiful face. You know what I'm saying? It accentuates you. It makes you it's nothing wrong with it, but your identity is not in that. It's in something deeper. And I had to discover that because I literally thought if I wasn't walking around in a couple $1,000 outfit with gold teeth in my mouth and big old diamond earrings and well, I like gold. I didn't wear too much diamonds, but like all of that and driving around in a certain car, then I was less of a man. I was less worthy of respect and of credibility.
Mm.
And God was like, no, man, your credibility is in me. And then the fact that you're a stand-up guy and the fact that you have integrity. I had to learn that stuff. It sounds weird.
No, it does not. When
Okay.
you were tuned in, tapped in, you understand. Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yep. So
Those
I
things are
had to
just added.
rediscover my
They're nothing
value.
that make you as a person.
Yeah. Yeah. It wasn't the
Yes,
stuff. It wasn't what I put on. It was what I was.
absolutely.
So that's where Steve 2.0 came from. And then this week, I'm releasing a song on Friday. It's called Peace 2.0. And it is once I got settled in my identity, then it kind of made my direction clearer too. And I found peace in God, in my relationship with God. It's like I'm not worried about this, that, or what people think or how people feel or even situations that are beyond my control. Like I'm at peace. I'm good. Like a lot of the decisions that we make are based off of our attempts to try to create peace. We try to get a lot of money because I don't want to worry about owing nobody or nothing getting cut off or anything getting taken from me. I make bad decisions and I go and hit licks and I go and make these plays because I want to be able to put nice clothes on my kids. I want to be able
Yeah.
to feed my family. I want to be able to buy my mom things and say thankful and show gratitude and have a good time in life. I want to be able to live. But ultimately, that peace really comes from God and being okay whether I have or I don't.
And being
Um,
able to be in that flow. But that's
yeah,
again, when you do that deep search and you hear that, then you're able to flow in that way. And that's a
yes,
different level of understanding that, everyone that is working on themselves, you'll get to that point. Yes.
yeah, for sure, for
Hmm.
sure. So that's where I'm at right now. That's and then next week I got something else, and then you know what I mean. I'm gonna keep it going through the end of the year. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. Congratulations on all the new music and the fact that you are independent but able to still continue to release and you're doing it in the way that you want to do it, which is always, the best form of art is not having to conform, right?
yeah,
And being able to do it the way you want to do it. So I think that that's super dope. And the fact that you were able to do a piece with Project Pat, shout out to Project Pat. Maybe we'll be able to get him on to talk about it as well. And so, as we're moving forward, do you have anything live planned, any events and such that we need to catch you on?
for sure.
Okay.
If you are in the Atlanta area, I have an event, or I'm on a ticket for a show called Flame Fest. It's a gospel
Okay.
rap show. Um, so yeah, that is Saturday.
Okay.
Saturday,
All right.
yes,
If you're in the Atlanta
Saturday.
market.
Yep. And then I'm working on my own situation, but y'all stay tuned for that. I'm gonna try to get it in probably in December. Probably in December. Kind of like a 2.0 unplugged type situation with a live band and all that going on. So
Nice.
we'll see. I'll
We
keep
like
y'all
it.
tuned in though.
Yes, we like it. Thank you so, so much for joining Champagne and Conversations. It's amazing to have this conversation with you. I hope that you guys have taken a lot of these gems from 2.0. He's going up, and we are as well. Just staying encouraged and influenced by great energy, great vibes. And I love the fact that you are still sending that positive message. So, congratulations to you. Thank you so much for joining Champagne and Conversations. Guys, we have 2.0, and we will continue to follow his social media to follow his projects.
I appreciate that. Thank y'all for having me. It's a pleasure.
Absolutely. Hang with us just a moment and we will take you out.